Now, as a lot of you guys are aware, I made a ton of videos on Skull and Bones when the game first came out, or was even being talked about coming out. And I said that this game was going to flop, right? And a lot of people were like, oh, why? Because it's woke? Like, no, relax yourselves. This game was going to flop because what it was asking for and what it was trying to portray itself to be, there was no way whatsoever that this game was going to be successful and make its money back, because the game was in development for over 10 years, number one. And number two, this game was trying to charge you full price for what was essentially 1/3 of what Assassin's Creed Black Flag was. I don't know of anybody, aside from some of the most hardcore Ubisoft shills, that thought that that was a good proposition for any sort of value in a video game.
No. Hard pass. Hard pass.
So when I made those videos, I had a ton of shills come out when the game released and tried to tell me that I was wrong, that the game's a massive success, that there's so many people playing it, that it's so much fun. Oh, we're enjoying the hell out of it. We promise, wink, wink. Well, apparently, you guys owe me an apology. Ubisoft allegedly spent between $650 million and $850 million on its supposed Quad A game, Skull and Bones, which, by the way, at its peak, the game only reached about 2,500 players on Steam. Needless to say, even with console numbers, as we have seen with multitude of different titles, Concord, Suicide Squad, Dustborn, we see with all these titles, console numbers don't help that much. Here we have yet another massive failure. And this picture is perfect because it shows everything on fire, which is essentially how the gaming industry is right now as they try to remain toxically positive. So let's get into this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So this article from That Park Place, again, it says a rumor claims that Ubisoft allegedly spent between $650 and $850 million on its Quad A Skull and Bones game. Now, again, guys, Skull and Bones died not because of wokeness or anything like that. This is probably one of the few games that Ubisoft has released recently that didn't die because of wokeness, right? This game died simply because they wanted to charge you full price for a not full price experience. They wanted to tell you that this was going to be a Quad A game, the first of its kind, which, again, the hubris on the fucking, Ubisoft CEO or whatever, whoever said, I forgot who said that. I don't even care. The person at Ubisoft that said that, the hubris that he must have had in order to say some shit like this is insane. But again, here we are. Quad A experience. This is not a Quad A experience. This is Assassin's Creed Black Flag with modern day graphics and no actual combat. You can't even board a ship. They took away shipboarding on this game. Like, why would you even find that interesting, right? And I'm sure there are some people out there that are hardcore into naval combat, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But you shouldn't be paying full price for what's essentially 1/3 of a previous game from Ubisoft. You guys got to remember, Skull and Bones was supposed to be some sort of a sequel to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then they eventually started turning it into something totally different because they wanted to jump on the live service train. But by the time they got the game out, it was too late. The game was a shell of its former self, and now here we are. It says, according to YouTuber Endymion and his sources within Ubisoft, the project that ruined Ubisoft and put them in the dire financial position that they are in after Star Wars Outlaws soft sales in the second quarter is Skull and Bones, which he claims cost between $650 million and $850 million. Now, you guys are probably thinking to yourself, how the fuck is that possible, right? How is that number even remotely possible? I don't even know if I personally believe the $50 million number, but I would be more inclined to believe the $650 million number. You guys got to remember, we're talking about over 10 years of development, multiple delays, okay? You guys got to pay the salaries of developers and workers for over 10 years. That's a lot of money, guys. That's not cheap, especially when you work at a company like Ubisoft with multiple executives that could be working on this game. Needless to say, it's going to cost a lot of fucking money. Endymion shared, I was also told that the project that ruined Ubisoft was not actually Outlaws or Shadows. It was actually Skull and Bones. Now, this is the reason why I believe Assassin's Creed Shadows is being delayed. Because Ubisoft, like I've been saying for many videos, they can't take 3 L's in a year. They just can't. With their investors on their back, their stock is plummeting. They cannot take 3 L's in a year. Skull and Bones was already a massive L. There's no way they made back even remotely close to that number. Even if the number for the budget was $200 million, it doesn't matter. They still didn't make anywhere close to that number, let alone 650 to 850. Yeah, no, they're fucking cooked, boys. They are cooked. There's no doubt about it. Now you got to throw in a Star Wars Outlaws, which only sold about 1 million copies after 1 month. And keep in mind, fucking Black Myth Wukong sold 10 million copies in 4 days. Okay, it's a big difference. These games are flopping. They are flopping magically. And it's because the companies that are making them are actively saying on Twitter, on social media, in interviews, on YouTube videos, they're saying it everywhere that they hate their fucking customers. After a certain while, we got to start to sit down and maybe talk business and say perhaps it's not best for business that you go out there and attack people that you are also trying to sell the game to. And you might sit there and say, well, I don't want to sell my game to bigots. Well, that's perfectly fine. But guess what? Bigots buy video games too. Shout out to Michael Jordan that was smart enough to realize the Republicans buy shoes too. You understand? If anybody knows that reference, you'll get it. You got to be stupid if you're out here attacking potentially half, if not more, because let's be real, it's definitely more. But if you want to be, on the fair side, half of your potential client base because you want to be an ideological fucking idiot. That's your idea of good business. That's the smart thing to do, to alienate those people and make them not want to even buy your product. You realize just how powerful the gamer's wallet is, right? You realize how powerful word of mouth is now. Word of mouth has always been powerful, but it's more powerful than it's ever been. And you realize that the narrative is not in your favor. People do not like what you're doing. And instead of confronting it and saying, you know what? We messed up. We're going to try to be better next time, and we're going to put out something that we think you guys are going to like. Instead of trying to take the neutral ground and keep politics out of video games, you decide to want to attack people that even remotely think about voting for Trump, right? Like, you are just insane people, and you don't want to sit there and do good business. And that's why your investors are on your ass right now. My sources told me they have seen multiple different versions of the game that were each completely different over the years, which, again, that costs a lot of money to do that. They said that they were told that the budget was spent on Skull and Bones. It ranged somewhere from 650 to 850 million over 10 years. And that Skull and Bones failed so badly for Ubisoft, it was the actual reason why they're dying the way that they are, he said. It's not actually Outlaws and Shadows, if you could believe it. So they sunk a legendary amount of resources into that game, and it clearly did not work out for them at all. Now, again, Skull and Bones has been in such development hell over the last over 10 years that at some point, perhaps they should have pulled the plug instead of spending more and more money. But they kept doubling down, just like they doubled down in real life with their Twitter accounts and whatnot. And they were going to put this game out no matter what, because they truly believed that, for whatever reason, that this was going to be a game that was going to be a quad A experience. They really believed that there was going to be that many people playing this game. For all intents and purposes, you should just play Sea of Thieves. As woke as Sea of Thieves is sometimes, they have trans characters and whatnot, you should just play that game, right? If you're looking for a true, open world naval kind of experience, just play Sea of Thieves. But I guess they thought that they can sell it off of the look of Assassin's Creed, perhaps. That's probably what it was, because again, this game was supposed to be a sequel to Assassin's Creed Black Flag originally, and then it just became its own kind of thing. So ultimately, guys, Ubisoft is fucked, all right? I really don't know how else to say it other than that. This company is just hurting unbelievably bad, and Skull and Bones it's a failure that went unnoticed, right? People were talking about it when it first came out. They were making fun of the fact that the naval combat's so basic and you can't even get on the ships. You can't fight. They took out everything from Black Flag. People making fun of that, but people weren't looking at the fact of how much money this thing costs and just how much it's going to hurt Ubisoft. Well, now people are talking about it, and once investors get wind of this, yeah, it's not going to look good. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.